What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show, the final episode of the regular season. It's been a long journey from Milan to Mint, Scott, but we have made it. And Judge hit a 60-second home run. He did it. We didn't have to deal with that as well. It was a huge relief. Like, honestly, I was just happy it was over. I was sick of every at bat getting a freaking notification on my phone and then not having the home run happen. I'm sure Judge was feeling it. You could see him at the plate, like just ready to be done with this already. But yeah, glad it finally happened, obviously.
And like huge relief for everybody, but especially for Aaron Judge. You know, like this first of all, the guy deserved it. Get 62. Like this needs to happen. You know, like it really does need it. It had to happen. So I'm glad that he just got it, period, as long as it took. But I'm glad he got it, and now he's sitting atop that record. That's so cool. It's so cool. We were there for the first home run.
That hallowed AL record.
Yep. Well, it is hallowed. It is hallowed. It's hallowed because it's the record that is acknowledged. What was it? Authentic. The authentic was that they were.
Yeah, I love how they're leaning into that. Do you think it's a bigger AL record or Yankees record? Because I think it's a bigger Yankees thing than it is Major League Baseball thing.
Well, I think the fact that the AL record was already held by Yankees, that already felt like a Yankee record, the AL record. So it felt one and the same, but we're Yankee fans.
Let's put it this way.
That's how, if I'm a different fan of a different team in the American League, then I'm looking at this as the American League, but I don't think they care.
But let me rephrase this. If it wasn't Aaron Judge and it wasn't a Yankee doing this, if Vlad Guerrero Jr. was breaking Roger Maris's record, this would not be as big of a deal.
That's true. It would be a big deal, but it would not be as big of a deal because it's a Yankee, no doubt. The fact that it's a Yankee, the fact that Aaron Judge is a New York Yankee makes it a bigger deal
because he's breaking Maris, who broke Ruth.
Yes.
And
correct.
We all again, fine. It's not the Major League Baseball record. I think what this season has solidified for me is no one's ever hitting 74 home runs. Like Judge hit his 60th home run on September 20th. Okay. 2 weeks ago. He had 60 home runs. Now, he was never going to reach 74, but he was on pace for like 66, 67, maybe even 68 if he had a hot couple of series towards the end. And he slowed down immensely. He started to feel so much pressure. We saw pitchers not pitching him quite the same. I think it was most glaring in the Baltimore series. I thought the Red Sox, the last time they faced him at Yankee Stadium, pretty much attacked him. I mean, let's face it. He got a cookie last night to get
Are you ready to give me my appraise?
Gray. It was Gray pitching, right? He was like, you know what? Exactly. You earned this. You earned this one. Here's a BP fastball. But so
the first pitch of that bat, real quick, he overthrew. He was trying to groove him a fastball on the first pitch, and he just overthrew it, and it was a little high. And then even that slider, it was like a slider that like barely broke over the plate. It was a shitty slider that just got enough of the plate to be a strike. And then he gave him right down the middle. They were pitching to him. They were giving him opportunities. The entire series, they've been giving him opportunities to hit the ball. So,
and it was, you could start to see him. Like, I thought he looked the worst at the plate these past 2 weeks not 2 weeks. I would say,
last 15 week before
plate appearances, right? Yeah. The last 5 games, the worst he's looked at the plate in a long time. He was trying to pull everything. He made some weak contact to the left side. Normally he's letting the ball travel and he's driving outside pitches to right field, or he's just spitting on them for balls. So you could start to see him changing his approach. And I think once the Yankees clinched the division, he made the decision to do that. And I totally get it. Like, just get this home run record over with. But then I start to, like, in my mind, I'm like, oh shit, is this getting Judge out of his rhythm? And then he's going to be cold going into the playoffs. Cause if Aaron Judge is in the postseason, like what is this lineup? Like, I started thinking those thoughts and I'm like, just please get this freaking home run already so we can put it behind us. So that was sort of my feelings. I guess really since the Baltimore series.
Yeah. I agree with you. You know, he was definitely starting to press, did not want him to get into a bad mechanical thing and enter the playoffs just with some jacked up mechanics, because the guy has been so good and consistent with the way that he swings the bat all year long, really the last 2 years, that it would have been a shame for him to have fallen into some bad habits because of this. But thankfully there was that fastball that was down the gut, and he took care of it. He did what he had to do, and he did what he was supposed to do. And
you know what it means? It means it was the nut up moment of the week. Aaron Judge came through and he delivers. It's October. It's spooky season. A lot of people like to watch horror movies to get into the Halloween mood. But just because you like horror movies does not mean you should let your junk be a horror show. I love the Manscaped copy. Those guys always go above and beyond on the creative copy for their ads every month. Spooky season. Manscaped can help you with all your male grooming needs. They've got the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which features cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, an LED spotlight so you don't miss any spots, and it is waterproof. It also has a lock feature, Scott, which I used when I took it to California a couple weeks ago. Put it in your travel bag. You press the button 3 times, and it locks so you don't waste battery and it doesn't start buzzing in your travel bag.
That is an upgrade. That is a Manscaped upgrade because they listen to the people. Because there are a number of times where that razor has gone off in my bag and I'm smacking my bag and I'm like trying to turn the damn thing off, or I'm protecting it in the way that I put it in my toiletry kit. So the fact that they have a lock means that they are open to feedback from the people that use their razor. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that from any company. So thank you, Manscaped, for listening to us.
You also get the Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer, so you can make sure that those nose hairs and ear hairs, it's hard to say, don't get out of control. You do not want that happening. They've got liquid formulations. That's what they're calling their Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. They throw in a pair of performance boxers and that travel bag if you get the performance package. But you can also just shop their products a la carte if you so choose. I highly recommend the trimmer. I've said this and I'll keep saying it. It's the best trimmer I've ever used. Aaron Judge nutted up to get his 60-second home run. And we want all of our listeners out there to nut up as well. Go to manscaped.com and use code Bronx21 for 20% off plus free shipping. We would really appreciate it. And thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring. So anything else you want to touch on with the Judge homer? Like, again, just to reiterate, steroids thing aside, it really, like, the pressure of the last 2 weeks for Judge solidified in my mind that reaching 70, 74 home runs just seems so far out of reach.
I mean, dude, it took the fact. Look, we need to talk about how the numbers are. Speaking of spooky season, as we're recording this and as they finish that game, Yankees 99-62 with their record. That's fucking weird. It took 61 years for this record to get broken, and on the 61st year it gets broken. That's fucking weird. A Yankee did it. The fact that number 9 was taken and Judge picked who Roger Maris wore and has been retired, and he chose 99. Also fucking weird. There's a lot of weird things that are like, New York Bronx Yankee Stadium ghosts are watching this and like already had a script for the way that this had to go down. So it's and I feel like I get chills when I say this. Maybe it's because of the ghosts, but it's really baseball. Baseball seems to always find these little number situations that it's baseball in numbers for whatever reason. They always find
that's
each
the
other.
fun in it. You don't get that. You don't get that with other sports that you can in baseball. I think because of the time that you have to look for those numbers and those coincidences, I think you can usually find something. But yeah, there certainly were a lot. And I remember when he was trying to get his the home run at home against Baltimore, and he was coming up in like the third inning at like 2:22 in the afternoon, and like, okay, was talking about how like, oh, this is the exact time on the exact same day.
You had the opportunity, the exact minute. Yeah,
that crazy. Roger Maris, and they showed like the picture and the shadow was the same and everything, even though obviously it wasn't the same stadium, but it was like, just still like very similar. And that's also one of the reasons why, even though the old Yankee Stadium was renovated, so it wasn't technically the same, but like just like when it is the same stadium year in and year out, and you can go back in history, and it's like, oh no, this is where it actually happened, and now I'm doing it in the exact same spot 61 years later. That's like the kind of shit that I'm a sucker for.
And the other thing that, I mean, you think differently on this, but here's what I have to say about the home run king conversation now. The home run king conversation will always now, in my belief, include Aaron Judge, because there will always be a distinguishment and like a line to talk about. And when someone's like, who's the home run king? Well, it's technically Barry Bonds, but Aaron Judge got 62. And that will always be, that will be part of their narrative. And you start looking at this 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, if this record is still intact, I know you're calling it the American League record because it is.
I'm not calling it because it is.
Well, no, I'm just saying what we were talking about earlier, and how it's and what people are saying. I think that actually a lot of baseball fans across the league also are happy that someone like Aaron Judge, because I think Aaron Judge is respected across fan bases. I think that the general fan of baseball is happy that he did this, because now there's something to talk about beyond what Bonds and McGwire did in the modern age. And I think that's a big deal, because you definitely are having this conversation now. Home run king, whether it's the number aside, you're including Aaron Judge in that. And a lot of people are acknowledging him as the true home run king, whether it's in the record books or not. That doesn't matter anymore, because the record books have been tainted, by that era. And as we all know, they've just changed over the decades. But when you look at something like this that took 61 years to break the right way, it's absolutely dead nuts in the conversation.
If in 25 years from now someone hits 63 home runs, do you think it's going to be a huge deal? It's like, oh, this player is breaking Aaron Judge's 2022 record? Or is it, yeah, this is a really great season. 63 home runs has never happened except for like these 5 times in history. But again, it's not 74 home runs.
The mechanism of the person being in the American League, I think, allows for that conversation to happen a lot easier.
But so now that's gone, though. Now that's gone, because
no, I mean breaking Aaron Judge's record is what I mean.
So now we're just going to be tracking NL and AL records for till the end of time. Like
no, but I'm saying if that person is in the person that you're referring to in 10, 15, 20 years, whatever that is, if they're in the National League, I'm saying it's not a National League record, whereas this is an American League record and it was something to put on. But yes, I think the answer is yes. I think it's going to be compared to Judge's season. I think Judge's season is going to stand the test of time, up there with one of the greatest offensive seasons that anyone has ever played in the history of baseball. It's going to be up there.
Absolutely. It's one of the 10 greatest offensive seasons in Major League Baseball history. And you might be saying 10, like that's not doing it justice. We're talking about all history. It's like 10. Okay. There's 10 and he's probably in the top 10. I don't know what number he is. And even if you want to remove the Bonds years and all of the steroid years, you still have got some freaky years from Babe Ruth back in the day where he's just like lapping the field 7 times over. So understand different era, whatever it is. But yeah, I agree with the fact that it will always be remembered, particularly for Yankees fans, as one of the greatest seasons, if not definitely the greatest offensive season we've ever witnessed. Like, obviously, but it will be. I would like to be able to have a crystal ball to see, okay, the year 2042, right? 20 years from now, someone hits 63 home runs. What's the talk about?
Put it in the show notes for Kemp and Harrison.
God, how old would they be? 25 years old? 22 years old?
Prime podcasting age. We'll leave it at the bottom of the notes because they'll probably use the same Google Doc, and you'll see it.
So we don't know who the Yankees are going to be playing in the first round yet, but it's either going to be the Guardians or the Rays. I think a lot of people out there crossing their fingers it's not the Rays, even though Tampa has not been the best version of the Tampa Rays we've seen. It's just, I think Kevin Cash and the Tampa Rays for a 5-game series is not going to make anyone feel good.
That's true. I'm sorry. I can't ignore this. Logan just put something in very funny, and he's absolutely right. We did not talk about Cole's record of the strikeouts
because who gives a flying fuck?
So, all right, before we get into the
big deal in the clubhouse, though.
Hold on. I'm going to do an impression. I was going to get to this when we hand out awards, but I'm going to do an impression.
We got to talk about it right now because
of Garrett Cole giving a motivational speech about breaking Ron Guidry's record. Well, yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for letting me go first.
I put out a tweet. I don't know if you saw my tweet. I said Cole probably so mad at Judge right now for making him wait longer because he came out, gave up a run.
Yes thing. He mentioned that to Merrick.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, what a dick.
Not like blaming Judge. He's like, oh, I had to wait longer.
He had to say it. He had to say it, though. He had to
He
say it.
couldn't help himself.
You know why nobody is looking at this at all? First of all, it's not one of the. It's not
because he's got a 3.5 ERA and's given up
nobody
34 home runs.
It's also not. It's not
Still
a
a
story
Yankee
record.
record.
It's a Yankee record. It's not a story record.
Is it an American League record?
I don't know.
It's not an American League record, but if you heard Michael Kay, because I have to defend Garrett Cole. If you heard Michael Kay, it is something that the Yankees in there, been around forever. 2 records that have stood for a long time, broken the same inning. It's kind of weird.
It is. It's crazy.
That is weird.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But it's also such a side note and such just a footnote in this day. Nobody will remember that Garrett Cole broke this record on that day. No, not one person. Even Garrett Cole, he's like, I really want to remember this, but he might forget it. His wife doesn't remember it already. So
but even if
it's
he did
not
it
his day,
a different day, it's not.
And he did it in a season where he was not good.
Right. Like,
and it's just what it is it's convenient for how people get out in today's baseball. Really is what it is.
Yes. I remember a couple of weeks ago when Cole, I think, was tying Guidry's record when he was pitching in Toronto, and Kay and Cone were talking about how, well, Garrett Cole isn't pitching the same number of innings that Ron Guidry pitched, so Ron Guidry had more opportunities to strike guys out then. So, technically what Cole did is more impressive.
That's a knock. Yeah.
I was like, on the flip side, Ron Guidry is pitching more innings and striking out the same number of batters. Maybe the strikeout rate isn't there, but the strikeout rate in Major League Baseball in when did he do this? 76, 77, 78, whenever
late
in
70s,
the 70s,
early 80s.
Whenever he did that was not the same as it is now. It wasn't the same strikeout rate. So I don't know, a strikeout record. Cool. Garrett Cole struck out a lot of people. Also, his start last night was pretty emblematic of his entire season.
Yeah.
Boatload of strikeouts, home run that cost him the game in the middle innings. And I get it. The game didn't matter. It's a tune-up start. Once Aaron Judge hit the home run, no one really cared. It's the second game of a doubleheader. Everyone's basically half out of that stadium already. But once again, grooves a freaking hanging slider in the 5th inning, and it's a 2-run homer. I'm going to, I'm not going to crush Cole for the start last night because of everything I just said. I'm going to wait to the playoffs if he fails to crush him. But
again,
I don't know what else I can say about Garrett Cole at this point.
No, it's all been said. I will say one other thing, going off script here a little bit as well, but and I know the games don't really matter. What I do, the takeaway, and I'm going back on what I said last time because I have a different feeling today than I did when we were recording last. Luis Severino looked freaking phenomenal on his last start. The velocity that was there,
up 0 hits. That's good.
Yeah, that is good. In 7 innings, was it, or into the 7th inning?
7 innings,
and he could have gone more. So
pitch count.
Yeah, well, so he wasn't fully stretched out. That was one thing we were talking.
It's like
about.
because you can't. We've had this argument for if you send him out for the 8th and he still has a no hitter, you have to send him out for the 9th. So that's the inning you have to pull him.
Anyway, he looked freaking phenomenal. It made a hell of a lot of sense that they didn't get any hits off of him. They had no chance. He was controlling the tempo. He was putting the ball exactly where he wanted it. He had nasty movement. He just looked really freaking good. He looked like Severino from 3 years ago. And if that's the guy that we're seeing, and you know what that looked like? That looked like a tune-up start. That's how you do a tune-up start. You don't just do
that's
the same
how you
thing
tune
you've been
up.
doing. That's how you tune up, motherfucker. That guy looked good. And that guy needs to start a game. And
one,
especially after
game
the
2.
stinker that Tyone put out. It's the 2 guys you trust right now are Nestor and Severino, aren't they?
Yeah.
And neither one of them are going to throw game 1.
Nope.
It's very complicated in the heads of a lot of people, I think, but not Aaron Boone, because I think he has to do it.
So they asked Matt Blake that, would you consider, have you guys considered starting Nestor in game 1? And I believe he said it was a consideration. And then they asked Cole, and they were like, would you be okay if you didn't start game 1? And he was like, yeah, whatever I got to do to help the team win, typical Yankee. Do you guys really think that it wouldn't bother him? Or do you think that he would get...
It would bother him.
Rattled?
Oh my God, would it bother him?
So he starts game 2. Does it bother him where he's like, I got to go shove, or he just melts?
I don't know if he has the ability to bother. Yeah. You asked me that question 2 years ago, and I would have said shove. Oh, absolutely. Piss him off. It's a good thing. Now, I'm not so sure.
It's so easy, though. If they wanted to start him game 2, they could just say, because we want him for game 5. It would be we would all know that's not that way.
We all know that's not the real reason.
Yeah, but
here's the problem: if it doesn't work, if whoever you put in game one doesn't pitch well, you're getting crushed.
Yeah, it's a no-win situation. I don't blame the Yankees and Boone for starting Garrett Cole game one. If I was in that job in an actual sense and like I actually had to be the manager and answer to bosses, I would also start Garrett Cole. That's why you're paying him all that money. If I'm in that job in a fantasy land, I'm not starting Garrett Cole, and I'm just going by what I have watched all season, and that's Nestor Cortes be the Yankees' best starting pitcher. But I completely understand, and I'm not even going to crush Boone. I promise you, I will not crush Boone and the Yankees if Cole struggles in game one. I will only crush Garrett Cole.
Yes. Well, that's who needs to be. Because Boone is not choosing here. This is what it is. This is what
no choice.
Everybody signed up for. This is what Garrett Cole got the contract for. This is all on Garrett Cole. 100%. Yep. You're absolutely right. So it's the other two people that you're looking at. Anyway, whatever. If Cole comes out and does his job and does well, Yankees are in good shape. Because Severino is absolutely pitching the best he's pitched in a very long time right now.
Well, I mean,
looking at that last start.
I mean, it is only one. Not
I understand
one start,
that,
but it's one start. But I'm still not starting Severino ahead of Nestor Cortes. I'm still starting Nestor Cortes game 2, and correct. I feel extremely confident with Luis Severino in game 3. I know we've talked about him maybe pitching out of the bullpen. I think at this point he's shown enough where you have to start him, and even if it's only a 5-inning start, you have to start him in game 3.
I will say that even though he's stretched out at this point, he could do that too, and I would still have confidence in him coming in different spots. But yeah, no, he looked too good for you to deny that. And then, when you look at that and how things pan out, if they get past the ALDS, you might have some.
Let's not talk about that yet, because
I'm just saying you might have some if that worked out.
The Guardians are, as Logan said before, an AL Central team, which I think if you know that the Yankees don't lose in the playoffs to AL Central teams. But also, it's just I've seen Tampa get the better of the
microphone down to me knocking.
I've seen Tampa get the better of the Yankees too often over the past 4 seasons to not be afraid if that's who the matchup is.
I mean, the word's not afraid, I don't think, but the word is you're definitely less confident. And Tampa's finding their groove, late in the season. They've gotten bodies back. Their pitching is
and when Tampa's the best, it's when they're the
short
underdog.
Series. Yeah, and short series, because they have the ability to match up differently than anybody on the pitching staff, and with a lot of confidence with the amount of people and different people and honestly, position player too. They've been so beat up this year that I think that is going to bode well for them and just really play into the way that Kevin Cash likes to play, which is a mishmash of dudes in different places. And you just kind of don't know what to expect on a day-to-day basis. He may play somebody completely out of the blue in a position, and because of some little thing that he knows about. And a lot of times it works. I know he's had his struggles with in-game pitching matchups and in-game pitching moves in recent history, but that man knows the abilities of his players, I'd say as well as or better than any manager in baseball.
It's just the Tampa games are mostly going to come down to like 1 or 2 at-bats and 1 or 2 pitching changes, because that's just how games are decided with Tampa. They're going to be low-scoring, close games. And that worries me if you're the Yankees, especially with Boone making those decisions. And, even if Tampa's offense hasn't been great, they're not looking to win a 7-6 game. They're looking to win a 3-2 game.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's going to be a dogfight. And I think that when you look over at Cleveland, AL Central statistics aside, that's a team that certainly overperformed to everybody's expectation.
The rest of the division underperformed, though.
Underperformed as well, for sure. But nobody had Cleveland coming out of that division. Not after they, gave up people. We were all scratching our head when Jose Ramirez signed that long-term contract. But it seems like every time these guys just reload from their farm system and they come up with young people.
They've got
young guys
amazing
who can come and play well.
Yeah. I was talking to Peter yesterday, Scott. You know who Peter is? Cleveland
Peter
Guardians
Moses,
fan.
the esteemed head of content at Blue Wire, yes.
And also host of the Airbuds podcast for any NBA fans out there. And I was like, okay, give me the elevator pitch on the Guardians. Like, what do I need to know about the Guardians? He's like, they don't strike out a lot. They strike a lot of people out. I was like, okay, got it. And he's like, and they just keep developing starting pitching. Like, yeah. What's that like?
And they got a kid in the outfield who I think is rookie of the year, right? And doesn't strike out at all.
And the Yankees, I believe the last time the Yankees played the Guardians was that series in May at Yankee Stadium, right?
So when that kid climbed up into the stands, he yelled at people.
Yeah, the
I think
Miles
he's off
Straw.
the team. I think Miles Straw is no longer.
So that was
someone
quite
pulled
a long
the last
time
straw,
ago.
if you know what I'm saying.
They actually played in Cleveland.
When?
July. You don't remember that was they played that doubleheader. July 2nd and 3rd.
I don't remember.
So they won. They swept the doubleheader and then lost 2-0 the second game, the third game of the series, and then they swept the Guardians at home. That was the IKF double off the closer. If you guys remember that game. And then
that was the champion. That was the winning game for a little while of the season.
Yes. And then Cole shoved the day after that. If you remember, that was like, oh, Cole needs to shove. It was April 24th. Cole.
April. It was April. Wow.
April. Yeah, I know. Feels like whatever. So they're 5-1 against the Guardians this year. 5-1 against the Guardians.
So we're gonna know who the Yankees' opponent is after the weekend, and we're gonna do a preview episode for that. But today we've got to update our season-ending grades and awards. So the way we did it last time is we just fired down the roster and we gave our gut reaction on grade. And if we agreed, we kind of just moved on. And then if we disagreed, then we can have a little conversation about it and take a look at some of the numbers. Jose Trevino is first up. In the first half, we gave him an A+. He certainly did not have a second half as good as the first half, but I'm still giving him an A overall for his season.
Totally agree. I think he absolutely deserves. This is a guy that got signed the day before, or if not that, very close to it, before the season started as a depth move because they needed a backup catcher, and he took the job by the balls. There's no doubt about it. I think it's become a lot more of a split with Higgy towards the end of the year, but yeah, a lot of these grades come from, I think, expectations of a particular player, and there were none with him, and he exceeded everybody. And he's been such a good locker room guy, such a good presence for the pitching staff. I agree with you. Certainly.
And he bailed Cole out in the first inning yesterday, threw 2 runners out. Yeah, his first half OPS was 714, and his second half OPS was 598. I mean, it was a severe offensive drop off, but his catching never diminished at all.
Next guy is Anthony Rizzo, and we gave him an A- at the first half cut. Look, Rizzo had his bout with injuries. Not to go completely chalk here, but I still think that Rizzo, I don't know how you grade injuries. I don't know how you weigh that into it, but when he was performing, he's an A to me. He's an A. He still had one hell of a season. 32 home runs on the year. The guy had tremendous power. And you could tell when he was in the lineup, when he was there, had such a presence because of his protection of Aaron Judge as well. So huge locker room guy. Anthony Rizzo has been phenomenal. Definitely an A in my book.
I don't know if I'm giving him a solid A, but it's probably a high B+, low A- for me. I agree with all the things that you said, that when he was on the field and performing, he made a huge impact. He did have a little bit of a slump in the first half, and I think after the first month of the season, he was leading the league in home runs, and then he went into a little bit of a dip. And I do have to factor in injuries. Like, if you're not on the field, I understand some of that is out of your control, but I still have to factor that into the grade. So I guess I'll be a little generous and give him, he's got a 90, like an A-. Okay. Gleber Torres, this is going to be a weird one to grade. He was nearly an all-star, and then he was the worst offensive player in baseball for 2 months, and then he's been really, really good in September. In the first half of the season, we gave Gleber a B+. And I don't know if that's changing. I feel like it's, for the season, it's still a B+. For the second half, it's like a C+, and only saved by his September.
But his September was so important because of the way that the team was reeling in October.
But he disappeared for
August.
2 months.
I understand that.
He didn't show up to class for 2 months and then showed up to the final and somehow aced it.
Yeah, which is frustrating because I got an incomplete, or I got an absence out of English 101 I was getting a solid B in the class, and because I absenced out because I went over 8 absences, and I'm still getting a B. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your class is easy. I'm sorry that I'm smart. I apologize. But what are you doing? I'm paying for this class. Brought up some bad memories right there. I'm giving Gleber a B. I think it's a solid B because of the inconsistencies that he has showed. That said, the footnote on Gleber, such an integral part of their rebound after they were so freaking bad, because he was the guy when Rizzo was out that was protecting Judge. And he played, for all intents and purposes, played a very good second base, was went over to short when he needed to, and did, filled in there fine. And yeah, middle of the field approach, Gleber Torres is an A+. Outside the middle of the field approach, he's getting lower. He's getting like
where's Cam Maben been? I miss Cam on the broadcast.
Yeah, he's been good. Very, very. I'm not happy about that. Josh Donaldson's the next guy on the list, and Josh Donaldson got a B- in the first half. I'm downgrading him. I'm giving him a C. I'm giving him a C. Josh Donaldson has been very solid at third base defensively, but he is not the offensive player that anybody expected. And, we have him for another year contractually, for another year. That'll be interesting to see what they do, because they have some personnel things next year with him clogging up third base. But I mean, look, the guy is a world-class glove, and, he's hit a little bit better in the second half, but nothing. He's too streaky. And nothing you can really count on. So I think the Yankees have a big decision with him, and if LeMahieu is healthy, he's probably going to sit.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like a guy that if LeMahieu is if LeMahieu is healthy, he's starting over him at third base. So he's definitely nothing better than a C. He was overall disappointing for me this year, Donaldson was. Yeah. IKF, we give him a B- in the first half, and I probably just sticking with the same grade for the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give him a B because he's exactly what we thought he was. So even defensively, second half, I thought he was much better. The blunders here and there.
He did hit 3 home runs in the second half.
He hit 3 huge power surge in the second half. 300% power surge in the second half.
That's right.
So yeah, that's I think he's a guy that fits the lineup and fits this team very well. But there's definitely some kids breathing down his neck now. So that'll be something to see what they do next year. But I'd say I'm giving him a B, solid B. Next is DJ LeMahieu, and we gave him an A in the first half. Again, here's that injury piece that, I have a hard time weighing into a particular grade, but if anything, it's got to be a down mark for him, because when he was playing, he was injured. So that's part of the narrative here. There's definitely context with what he is. So I have to downgrade him a little bit for the full. I'm going to give him a B+. He's still a good presence, but unfortunately he's playing hurt, and that's gonna come back at any moment. It really could come back at any moment with his injury right now and playing. And hopefully it's not, because when he's healthy, he's an A. He's a solid A. But we have to grade him on a curve almost because of the injury, but he's still playing. So that's why I'm giving him B+. But I'll stick with B+ because I like him.
Yeah, B+. That's fine. I mean, he obviously was just hurt.
He's also the only other person playing first base. I know Cabrera picked up a glove and can do it, and we all have confidence in that. But you're looking at who can play first base on a consistent basis. If there's anyone that's not there, and it's him. So he's proven valuable.
You guys aren't going to give the next person on the list an award? You're not going to give him a grade on the graphic?
Joey
Gallo. Well, he didn't play in the second half.
Well, I mean, he did a little bit. Well, a little bit.
Well, I'm surprised we gave him an F and not an F-. Why were we being nice in the first half? What happened here?
There's no such thing as an F-.
There's not. You could have made it one.
No, an F is an F.
Once you gave Aaron Judge an A+ with 42 pluses, we just made that shit up. We can make whatever we want up.
No, once you hit an F, that's it. It's over, kid.
Listen, he hit a home run yesterday, 9-hole. Joey Gallo.
How is he doing? I haven't paid any attention to him.
He started hot, and everybody was like, "See, he couldn't do it in New York." And then he went back to 150.
Being Joey Gallo.
Being Joey Gallo, they batting him ninth again, and everybody's like, "Well, you know."
Well, you know he sucks. He does suck, but so okay.
They were like,
yeah,
"Oh,
he
he's," and I was actually listening quickly. I was listening, and they were like, he's like really working. Like I was listening to Dodgy broadcast. Working with a smaller leg stride. I'm like, no, this guy's going to start making adjustments now.
It took him 400 plate appearances this year to finally make some adjustments.
It's like September 30th. You're going to make adjustments now?
Hey, Joey Gallo better make some damn adjustments right now, because if the shift doesn't, the fact that the shift's not going away doesn't help him, then he's a lost cause. So,
I mean, is Gallo making their postseason roster?
No idea.
I don't expect you guys to know that.
Honestly, well, I mean, I watch a lot of the Dodgers because it's kind of just on at night. MLB Network always has it on, but like I think so because they acquired him they kind of platooned him in left field. I think so.
Acquired him
cool.
to.
Good luck with that. Who's next on
big
our list?
pinch hitting strikeout. As I said, we gave Aaron Judge in the first half an A+++ with like 40 something pluses. I'm upgrading him to an A+ with 62 pluses.
There you go. Nice numbers. Back to numbers. Yeah, this is an easy one. We've dedicated, I'd say about 40% of all of our shows to Aaron Judge. So
it's better than dedicating 40% to Rob Refsnyder and Chase Headley back in the day.
Hey, I don't appreciate the disrespect to Rob Refsnyder. Okay. The guy tries really hard. No, Aaron Judge has been amazing. So A+ all the way, 62. That's great. Aaron Hicks next on the list.
We gave him a B- in the first half.
He was in the good graces.
He had finished the first half strong, and that clouded our judgment.
Huh. Wow. All right. So big fat D for Aaron Hicks. I'm not going to give him an F because he's still going out there and doing things, and like he's trying to improve. Maybe
he's walking. He's walking on graduation day.
Yeah. So yeah, he's getting a D for me because he's been bad. Hasn't been very good in left field. The outfield deficiencies have shown. He's made a couple throws and thrown out some guys. That's great. I don't see him. I don't see Aaron Hicks. I don't see the future here. I don't know what he is. I don't know how he could really be a plus for this team or a person that can help in the playoffs really. So I think he's a bubble guy at this point. And yeah, I'm giving him a D, from a B- to a D. I think that's fair.
I guess if we're saying if he truly was a B- in the first half and he was an F in the second half, then I guess, yeah, he gets a D. But I want to give him an F for the whole season. That's okay. My feeling on Aaron Hicks. Giancarlo Stanton, another guy with injuries, so that's going to be a factor here. We gave him an A in the first half. He was an all-star. He was injured for much of the second half, and then when he came off the IL, he was really struggling. But maybe we're getting hot Giancarlo Stanton. He's been hitting a lot of home runs the last week. Maybe that can carry into the postseason. Got to downgrade his grade though from an A down to a B.
Yeah, I'm definitely giving him a B. Ended up with a very similar line to Rizzo, except there's one glaring difference, and I'm looking at this is the on-base percentage.
Rizzo had a significantly. Wow, Stanton's on base percentage dipped below 300.
Yeah, it's
297 on base for Giancarlo Stanton. I might give him a C+.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Joey
I
Gallo
would guess it's
year,
like 315 or 320.
Yep.
If you're Giancarlo Stanton and you're under 300 on base percent, like you accidentally should be walking 75, 80 times a year just from pitchers pitching around you.
Logan, can you look at his strikeout percentage this year compared to previous? Because he struck out a lot. He struck out 137 times this year.
I would say that's probably on par. But you know him, when he looks like he can't hit a ball, he swings at everything. And then when he can hit everything, it'll be a slider right off the zone, a really good pitch, and he doesn't even. He doesn't
297 is trash. That's a trash on base.
It's really bad. It's really bad. Yeah, but it's really bad.
Do you guys worry about him going into the playoffs? Because
of course. Because if you don't, not that I worry about him. I think he is one of those guys who certainly is up for bigger moments. So I'm not worried about him necessarily. But
in what sense?
That said, yeah, if he gets into a bad streak, like he can
if it's bad Giancarlo Stanton, he's an automatic out in the playoffs.
Yeah.
His strikeout percentage is at 30.5% this year. It was 27.2 last year, and in 2019 it was 33.3. So he's kind of just right there.
He's a 30% strikeout guy.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, So what did I say? I said
we each agreed on B, but now I saw his on base percentage and I gave him a C+.
All right. I'm fine with that.
Skip B- wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll go B minus.
If his on base
keep him in the
percentage,
B range.
if his on base percentage had a 3 as the first number, I'd have given him a B-.
Hope he gets a pinch hit walk today.
Yeah.
All right, so it's me, right? Oswaldo Cabrera. Okay, I'm looking for him in the first half. No, I'm not going to find him because he wasn't on this team. Now he is a guy that is absolutely. He's an A. He's an A. He's an A. I don't want to give the young kid an A plus, make his head all big, but I would if I could, because that guy did everything that the Yankees asked him to do, and did it well, like extremely well. Not a moment too big for him, not a position too difficult for him, not a moment, not a place in the lineup that he can't hit. He shows power, he shows range, he's got a hell of an arm. His attitude is phenomenal. I love the kid. I really do. I love the kid, and I'm excited to watch him moving forward.
Other than Aaron Judge in the second half, he might have been my favorite part of this team to watch, just because of the improbable nature of what he was doing, playing all those different positions and making an impact. Like that series when he started at third base, made a diving catch over the tarp, and then the next day started in right field and robbed a home run. It's like, when do you ever see someone do those two things on back-to-back days? So yeah, you give him an A, I'll agree with the A. Matt Carpenter, I almost feel like we can't give him a grade for the second half because he was out for so much. We gave him an A++ in the first half. And I feel like Oswaldo Cabrera just like took Matt Carpenter's like essence and put him into a young player. And that was him in the second half. Obviously, Matt Carpenter was hitting, he was doing more crazy things offensively. So I don't know. I kind of just got to not grade Matt Carpenter, but
incomplete second half. So just keep his grade where it is. I mean, at any point, if we had positive contributions from a guy that was named Matt Carpenter, completely unexpected, out of the blue, it's got to stay an A, even if it was for a short time. So,
right.
I'm still keeping it there. Yeah, I agree.
Expectations are a factor here, and you'll see that when we get to Garrett Cole. Next up, who we got?
Next up is Harrison Bader. Okay, Harrison Bader coming over, obviously, for the Jordan Montgomery.
I have tempted not to put him on here.
Well, he's here, so incomplete. Still waiting to see. I like what I'm seeing so far. Came out of the gate hot. He doesn't have his bat will probably frustrate us moving forward. Made some very nice plays over the last week in center field. Like the guy's a baller in the outfield.
So I have a take on him in the outfield, and I don't know. I haven't seen him enough yet to understand what this is, but I feel like a lot of times he's kind of looks out of control running for balls. And I know he's a fantastic fielder defensive metrics wise. So I don't know if that's because he's taking weird routes to the ball or if it's just he's getting to a ball that he has no business, like no other center fielder would get to. So it almost looks weird that like how he gets there. Like that ball, I think it was yesterday in one of the games that ended up being a double off the center field wall. Like he kind of took like a weird angle to it and then just like leapt and had no shot. And then it was just like over his head. So, I mean, I know he's a great defensive center fielder, but it almost kind of looks wild out there.
I actually think that's just kind of the way he looks when he runs. He's got like a kind of a weird body, to be honest.
Yeah,
like he looks just like
he's a little squatty.
So he looks a little different out there. He's not like a fluid Aaron Judge looking. He's not. He's not
a gazelle. Fluid. He's not a gazelle,
but he does all the things you need him to do. It just looks a little different. I think that's what you're seeing.
He's more like an ogre out there.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like he's got two left feet and you're running around, but he does it really well. And
right, he runs really fast.
Yeah, and he gets to everything you need to get to. It's just like it's not the prettiest thing, and that's okay. It's a little grittiness in there. But yeah, I'd say incomplete for him. Next guy is a guy came over midway, so another tough one I'd say is Andrew Benintendi. When he was out there, he off to a slow start, but he was fine. I think he was good. A B- I'd say when he was out there.
No, when he was out there, it was in the C range. He really only started.
When he got going, man,
we
saw what he was.
Injured.
When he got going, we saw what he was, and I think he sustained that for.
But he came over hitting 320, and you're getting a 320 hitter that doesn't strike out a lot, and he just wasn't that. I mean, I know he still didn't strike out a lot, but he was not hitting. He wasn't getting a lot of hits. So when he was on the field before his injury, he was a C. in my opinion.
Okay.
Marwin Gonzalez in the first half. What did we give him? We gave him a B. Yeah, sure, B. I think he went like something like crazy amount of days without getting a plate appearance for a little while in the second half, but he's a utility player, and he was a fine utility player. Kyle Higashioka, what are you giving Higgy? Storming to the finish line for Higgy.
Yeah, I am going to give Hickey. What did we give him in the first half? I'm going to, unless I just went off of it. I'm giving him a C. I'm giving him a C because he was not good in the first half. He just was not good. I mean, and I think a lot of that also, he wasn't hitting. I expected him to hit a hell of a lot more. He was fine defensively, but he got completely overshadowed in the first half and really didn't get the playing time I think a lot of people expected. He's certainly been playing a little bit more in that second half, and it's become more of a I'm not going to call it a platoon, but closer to a platoon. And I think that he's been good. So I'll give him a C. And we gave him a C in the first half.
The moment we've all been waiting for. Garrett Cole. Here's my reasoning I was thinking a lot about this. I was putting myself in the shoes of a teacher. And if I'm trying to grade Garrett Cole as a teacher, I'm probably giving him a B- for the sole reason that I don't want his mother to storm in my office and yell at me.
Okay. That's it.
Because he doesn't deserve a B-. He deserves a C+ because he's supposed to be the best student in the class. He's supposed to be leading the class and blowing away he's supposed to be answering questions before I even ask them. Okay. He's the first one to raise his hand. He's correcting the teacher. That's how good he is supposed to be. And he did all the work. He showed up. He did well on all the tests, but he didn't go above and beyond anything. He was sometimes in the back of the room clowning around with the kids. So he's because, unfortunately, a lot of this is graded on a curve and expectations factor in here. He deserves a C+, but I'm giving him a B-. Again, I don't want to deal with his angry mother.
Logan, can you pull up his splits between first and second half, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, they're glaring because I was looking at them.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that because we gave him the first half. We gave him a B.
Very, very similar reasons. His numbers look great, but we were like, this is not like ace Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
So he started slow. If you guys remember, he had that rough outing in Detroit.
Right.
His first half, I am looking at the right year, right? 2022. Okay. First half, he went 9-2 with a 3.02 ERA.
Okay.
That's
there. It's there.
19 games started, 113 innings, 147 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, in 14 starts, he's got a 4.12 ERA.
Yep.
And 110 strikeouts.
How many home runs allowed?
Yeah. Oh God, I don't have that here.
That's okay. A lot of home runs allowed because I know
a lot of home runs allowed.
33 on the season.
Actually, wow, I do have it. So it was 17 in the first half, 16 in the second half. So pretty even. So I think the difference.
Well, how many
solo
innings?
shots
when they were? Yeah.
He threw a lot more innings. Actually, that's a good point. About 25 to 30 more innings in the first half. The first half was longer, if you guys remember.
So 3 starts.
His home run per inning or its home run per start was up pretty significantly.
Yeah, home runs per 9 is up.
Yeah.
Okay, so for all these reasons, the numbers are what I expected them to be. Significantly worse in the second half. He's absolutely getting a C. Like it's not a B-, it's not a C+, it's a solid C.
Have fun dealing with his mom.
Fine. The B, like look in the mirror, woman. Your kid can do wrong. Okay, your kid, little precious Garrett, can do wrong. He was bad. Okay, he thinks that it comes easy to him, and he thinks he's going to go out there and dominate, and he didn't. And in fact, he put the Yankees in bad positions a lot of times with the home runs late in games. And I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I don't like the tune-up. Look at what his classmate did, Severino. Okay, that's what you call that. That is a tune-up. What your son is doing now, I'm just talking directly to his mother. What your son is doing is not meeting expectations. You know what he's going to do? He's going to hit the real world, and he's going to be a bum. He's going to be a bum because he's going to act like he can do everything, and he's not going to try. And that the world is catching up, son. The world is catching up. And he was bad in the second half. And this man needs to stop what he's doing and figure it out right now and nut up for the playoffs. So I'm A B first half, D second half, C for the season.
I just have to say this. It's kind of interesting. I don't know what you guys make of it. So he was 1-5 with a 1.88 ERA in 9 games started when he gets less than 2 runs of support, but he was 9-0 with a 4.66 ERA in games that he gets 6+ runs of support. So is he one of those pitchers that just matches the offense, or like what's the deal there?
I don't know.
Mentally, I hear mental weakness.
I hear mental weakness.
Yeah, that's just like
maybe that goes with the mental side of things.
That is, none of this is questioning his talent. And for anyone that didn't get my joke about his angry mother storming in, because that's probably what happened to Garrett Cole in his schooling days. Whenever he didn't do well in a class, his mother stormed in the office of the teacher and said, "My kid deserves an A." And the teacher, not wanting to deal with the angry mother, just said, "Fine, I'm giving your kid an A because I don't give a fuck." And that's how Garrett Cole has gotten to where he is. And he can throw a baseball really fast.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll disagree a little bit because he was probably dominating even more going through the ranks, and then all of a sudden you're on a level playing field.
But if it's not given to him, and if it's not a perfect scenario, he's not going to go out there and just take it and make it and do what he needs to do to nut up and have a good start. Something's going to go wrong. Why did he do that in Houston then? Why did he do that when he was running freaking Astros? He wasn't dealing with the number one pressure. It was Justin Verlander who was, and you're doing sticky stuff. Yes, true. That's also a factor.
Do you remember the report that I dug up from show notes and some random website? I'm telling you, still holds. It holds.
You went on like the deep
I went on
webs.
I was on the dark webs. Deep dark webs looking for fucking notes from something, and I found some shit, and it scared me, and it's true. All right.
Let's next? Fire through the rest of these quick. Nestor Cortez. We had him at an A+. He deserves many more pluses, I feel like.
The man has outperformed everything that anybody has ever expected, but he's also laid the tape going back to the middle of last year. This is the pitcher he is. This is the pitcher he is. I have confidence in the man. I love the little wrinkles. I love his mustache. Love the fact that he's an everyday man. Then I have A+.
Jameson Taillon. Taillon, we gave a B in the first half, and I think there was a period in the middle of the season where he was trending towards C or even worse range, but I think he turned it around enough to probably maintain that B grade.
Yeah, he's a B. Still giving up too many home runs, but he's a B. The home run balls is his kryptonite, just like Garrett Cole. So
Domingo Herman was not graded in the first half because there was no sample on him. But he's actually like turned out to be pretty solid. After they traded away Montgomery and Domingo Herman started to get some of regular starts, he was actually a pleasant surprise. His numbers on the season are a 3.31 ERA and 68 innings pitched.
Yeah, he's been good. He's filled in. He's done what he's needed to do. So what is the grade you gave him?
Oh, I didn't give him a grade. B+.
All right, I'll give him a B. The plus is like, I don't know if you got to do something extra for a plus. He's a B. He did a good job. Good job. And I think he made everybody, obviously when Monty started in the second half in St. Louis, it was all the rage, but he quieted the storm a little bit, Herman, because of the way he pitched. So kudos for that.
Severino, we gave a B+, and I feel like that can't change, or we just got to give him an incomplete.
Yeah, it's an incomplete, yeah, I agree with that. He didn't pitch enough. I will say, last start, A+. That guy looked freaking good, and I hope that he can bottle that up for the playoffs because that's a guy that I want out there.
Frankie Montas does not deserve a grade, but if we were grading him,
I would give him a fucking
F. F for Frankie. Clay Holmes.
F for Frankie and F for whoever the fuck read the reports wrong and couldn't you need Dr. Scott Ryan to come in there and tell this guy that he's freaking injured. I mean, seriously, it's not that difficult. God.
Clay Holmes was an A+ in the first half, definitely struggled more in the first half, had a phantom IL, then had a real IL. I'm going to downgrade him to an A-.
I mean, that's really like just dismissing what he did in the second half almost. Like, I don't even know if he's at an A. I think he fell so far off the wagon that A+ was so unexpected. Like, he's at a B+
that's
for me.
But that's also still, I guess, if you're saying once
he's not the closer, he lost that job.
That's true.
I'll
give
his
him first half was so good though. Like, you have to,
you're right.
You have to acknowledge what he did in the first half. He was the best relief pitcher. I mean, the shitty thing is their 2 best relief pitchers. They basically were without them in the second half. Michael King's season-ending injury, and Clay Holmes was not Clay Holmes.
I have a hard time giving him anywhere in the A range because of the way he finished, to be honest. So, and the fact that he certainly lost the job. I know he had it coming back from injury and lost it. So he hasn't been able to execute. So I'll give him a B+ because of the first half was so freaking good. Otherwise, he's flirting with like low B, C range for second half.
The only other person on here I feel like we even want to grade is Aroldis Chapman. The rest of the bullpen guys, Wandy, Licky, Clark Schmidt, Marinaccio, Trevino. Yeah, and Marinaccio. The Marinaccio injury quickly. So we're talking about it live on the last episode. But what did they it was a
stress fracture.
Stress fracture, and he's definitely out for the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, so call me out if I'm completely wrong here, but I've always thought a stress fracture is shin splints. I think if they're not the same, I thought they were similar. I'm sure I'll get called out, but that is it's one of those unfortunate and that's a rest thing. Like those don't go away. I had them in like middle school, early high school, and those were a bitch to get rid of. They really were. So I don't know. Hopefully it's not a terrible thing, but it's really hard to gain strength, I think, from that stress fracture, and that's going to be a problem. So your Wandy Peralta is the guy I wanted to call out in that group.
Okay.
And the reason being is because I think he's been kind of one of those like unsung heroes. He's just been quiet, put his head down, has done his job really well. He's a guy you can rely on. He's got that, a little bit of a Houdini act in him. So, first half did we grade him? I can't read that. So
Wandy Peralta?
Yeah, he got an A.
He's an A. He stays an A. In my opinion, he stays an A. He's been very good all year long. And if I'm looking at just like the list, who I would change, I would downgrade Litke. I think he had a much worse second half. Not a guy that they can rely on, although they may have to because of bodies. And then the 2 guys that came over, Trevino was better than I expected, I guess. Efros, a little bit of an incomplete. But Trevino, you have to give a very solid grade B.
I think let's look at it this way for Trevino and Efros. I think they trust them both in high leverage spots. And if that's how you're going to measure bullpen acquisitions at the deadline, then I think you have to consider those successes. I don't know what you give them individual grades wise, but they have confidence putting them into leverage spots.
Yeah.
And I think that's a win for acquiring relief pitching at the deadline.
I think that's a different conversation.
Yeah,
taken into consideration for this for sure. But I agree with you. And it's not also a choice at this point. Like they have to put them in high leverage situations with Marinaccio out, with some of the injuries that they have. Obviously King was on this list in the first half. It's unfortunate what happened to him because he was off to such a great start, but yeah.
We gave Aroldis Chapman a D in the first half. Maybe we just leave him at a D for don't put him on the playoff roster.
Yeah, he's an F. Give him an F. He deserves
an F. He's going to be on the playoff roster too.
So he's an F. Don't put him on the fucking playoff roster.
Yeah, yeah. It's a D with an F in there.
All right, let's
effing put him on.
We've got some awards, and we're going to go through them fairly quickly because they don't really need much explanation. MVP goes to none other than Aaron Judge. Who would have thought it? Last in the first half, we gave the runner-up. We even questioned, is Jose Trevino the real true MVP of the Yankees in the first half? That conversation was put firmly to bed. The Cy Young has to go to Nestor Cortes. That's also not up for discussion. I think had Clay Holmes continued his dominance into the second half, that would have certainly been a discussion. Some people don't like to give relief pitcher Cy Young awards, but Clay Holmes might have been that good in the first half to where he would have been in that conversation. Rookie of the year. I think this is interesting. It's like true rookie, Oswaldo Cabrera, super impressive. If we're saying first year to the Yankees for his full season, full body of work, then that's what Trevino deserves.
It's Trevino, yeah. I think the second half having Cabrera in there, honorable mention because of the things that he did, but he just wasn't here long enough. So it's 1,000% Trevino.
The comeback player. You confident giving this to Luis Severino? Did we see enough this year from Luis Severino to give him the comeback player of the year?
No, I'm actually giving it to Gleber Torres. I think Gleber Torres is very deserving of this. The guy found a home back at second base again. Had those streaks where he wasn't all that great, but really I think came on at the end of the year when the Yankees needed him the absolute most and was good. I mean, we a lot of people, including us, I think wrote him off. I don't think I was as written off as you were. You hated him for a while because of the way he was just bad. He was really bad. It was warranted. But I think he definitely got back into the good graces, and I think that he's proven that he's a player to stay here for a little bit. So I'm giving it to Gleber.
That's fair enough. All right, this next one is most likely to embarrass himself on Derek Jeter night. That one goes to Aaron Hicks. Congratulations. You took it away from Masahiro Tanaka. It was previously Masahiro Tanaka's award, and now Aaron Hicks is
Why did we give it to Tanaka?
Because on Derek Jeter night in 2017, he gave up like 3 home runs to the Astros in the first inning.
Got it. I was reading that. I had forgotten about the Derek Jeter night, the baseball piece. I was like, oh, night out with Derek Jeter, who's embarrassing themselves. That's a different conversation.
That is a different conversation.
But yeah, all right. Aaron Hicks is good for that one.
Most likely to get regular playing time that was not warranted, suck, and then complain when he gets benched finally. This one also goes to Aaron Hicks. He's just cleaning up the awards.
I will put a honorable mention to Aroldis Chapman.
Did he complain? Has he complained?
I don't know. He might have behind the scenes. In my head, he's complaining.
I want to know what you think about this one. The Brett Gardner Award for most likely to wear short sleeves on a freezing cold October night. I think it's Harrison Bader.
Keep it in the position. Keep it in the
He just
outfield.
strikes me as a guy who's going to run out there with bare arms when it's like 41 degrees and windy in the Bronx.
I could absolutely see that. I think you're spot on. I think Harrison Bader will do that. I think we're going to see it.
We've got on here the Help I've Fallen I Can't Get Up award. Is that a joke, Logan, for his infected leg? You're poking fun at his infected leg?
That was not me, but
okay.
We'll go with it.
For Aroldis Chapman, the Survivor Award, I guess we're giving to Domingo Herman. He's just sticking around. I don't know. The Don't Forget About Me
I'm giving
award.
the Survivor Award to Higgy, because Higgy had the opportunity to come in and make a large contribution to this team and in fact try to take that starting catcher job. There was no starting catcher really. And he didn't have the greatest first half. He rolled with the punches with Trevino coming out there and doing it, but first of all, he survived this Yankees organization for such a long time. He's been there with Judge all the way through, right? So he was, I think when you look back at that group, if you look back at the names on that group, like probably, I don't know if Higgy's on my list of like guys I would think that would be here 5-6 years later with Aaron Judge. He would certainly not be the catcher that I would choose out of that list at that point. So I'll give it to Higgy, man. He has survived. He survived the class coming up, and he survived all the different elements that have been thrown at him.
We know Trevino's going to catch Cole, but what about the rest of the games in the playoffs? Because Higgy's been hitting a lot better recently. We think Higgy's going to get. Let's put it this way: out of the 4 starters, how many is Trevino going to catch? How many is Higgy going to catch?
I think Trevino catches 3.
Okay,
and Higgy gets a start in there. But because of the way that the days work out, there's the off days are helpful to a catcher. So I think like Trevino's going to get the start, I believe.
I also think that I think they value Trevino's framing back there.
They do.
Way too much. Even
Higgy's no slouch at framing either, but
no, 100%. But Trevino's just
number one
level of good.
Yes, Trevino's number 1 in the league. Higgy's, I think he was like 15th or 18th or something.
Yeah. And Higgy's like, I'm sorry, Trevino's like far and away better than the second place. Like he's just otherworldly at it. So
do we think that maybe Garrett Cole is struggling because there is no backup catcher?
That was my theory.
Did you guys hear what he said about? So Higgy caught his game to the record tying strikeout, and Trevino caught the record breaking strikeout. And he said like 2 or 3. He said it during the speech to the team. He said it to Meredith. Like just thought it was so magical. He used the word magical. That Higgy caught the record tying one, and Trevino caught the record breaking one because they were both such a big part. So,
shut up, Garrett.
Sorry.
This one's interesting. The No Free Passes award goes to Jameson Taillon for a very low walk rate of 4.3%, which makes me ask the question and think, is he actually a better bullpen candidate than we think because he doesn't walk anyone?
Yeah, but he gives up the home run ball. That's the problem. The problem is when you're coming out of the bullpen and you're susceptible to the home run ball, you're usually put in situations where there's runners on base or you're in a bit of a pinch and you're coming in when someone's struggling. And so, yeah, that's helpful as long as you don't give up a home run. And
all right, so night before the playoffs start, or maybe there's a rain delay in one of the playoff games and the Yankees are down, need to come back, who's giving the motivational speech? We know it's not Garrett Cole, but who do we think is giving the motivational speech? You earlier in the season, Scott, said Gleber Torres, which the only person lower on the list than Gleber Torres is Garrett Cole, but who do you think it's going to be?
So I stand by my by my thing with Gleber. I think Gleber is an unspoken guy on the fan side, but I think he's loud in the clubhouse. The guy I think who's giving this speech right now, I'm looking at is Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, that's the pick. That's definitely the pick. He's been there before. He's won a championship before. He's been a key piece on a championship team. That's definitely the pick for sure. All right, that's going to wrap up today's episode. We also were planning on getting to revisiting our bold predictions and doing the top 5 games of the month and then awarding the top 5 game of the year. We'll get to those eventually, but we're out of time for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. We plan on doing a preview episode of whatever team the Yankees are playing, either Tampa or Cleveland. That will come out after we know the opponent ahead of that series. So stay tuned for that. And we'll talk to you guys in a few days.